Without an arrest of the kind of changes that we're seeing, we're going to see really significant and serious problems that are going to hit the industrialized world, the United States, Europe, but more importantly, the poorest countries of the world.
This is At Brookings, a weekly, in-depth look at issues behind the news. This week, finding policy solutions for climate change.
For nearly 20 years, world leaders have sought policy solutions to help limit climate change. Under the aegis of the United Nations annual climate change or COP meetings, there's been incremental progress. And despite the absence of a comprehensive pact between nations, senior fellow Catherine Sierra says there's an opportunity to put the brakes on climate change while still fostering development.
What people are now seeing is that there is an opportunity to switch our energy systems, to move towards energy systems that are cleaner, that rely more on renewable energy, that are more efficient. They're talking about the second industrial revolution, the green revolution.
With countries' budgets still strained from the economic crisis, how can the private sector play a role in financing these new economies and these new efforts?
The private sector is going to be the engine of change. And again, sometimes in the negotiations, we are only seeing governments coming together without listening to the private sector. So if you listen to the private sector, what are they saying? They're saying it is time to start investing in these new technologies. Some of them are still very expensive. We need to have major investments to drive down the cost, to reduce risks of these investments. So what they would like to see, and I would advocate as well, is public-private partnerships to be able to provide some seed money from the public sector, either through R&D or to reduce the risk of the investments, and that will help crowd in private money, whether that's investor money from companies, whether that's funding from sovereign wealth funds, from pension funds and the like.
Well, Kathy, with cap and trade effectively off the table and the new buzzword and new approach is green economy, how can we promote economic growth through a green economy?
I think a green economy is a better way of presenting this piece. Now, in the event, you still need to have some incentives to help drive that green economy, whether that is a heavy investment in research and development, whether those are special incentives to try to propel the investment in newer technologies, whether eventually it could be, going back, I don't think in the near term, but I think eventual term, into either some type of carbon tax or a cap and trade system. I think that will eventually have to get back on the cards. Politically, it's not the right time.
The United States seems to lack the legislative will to move forward on some of these pacts that come out of these meetings. Does this affect our standing in the global community?
What surprises me when I'm not in the United States, when I'm visiting Europe, when I'm visiting other countries, is that there is no longer a debate about the science. The science is understood. There's a scientific consensus among leading scientists of the world that the climate is changing. So the question in other countries is, what are we going to do about it? How to do this in the most effective and efficient manner. In this country, we've politicized the science.
Generally, when we talk about climate talks on this level, we think of industrialized nations versus developing nations. But there's also the LDCs, the least developed countries, and they have a say in this process. Tell me more about that.
You do have three different blocks. You've got the rapidly industrializing nations, China, India. It's a very different story. Emissions are a significant part of the problem, as well as their needs for growth. And so there it's about aggressively putting in new technologies. In the poorest countries, it's about affordability. They don't emit a lot, so this is not part of the global piece. But 3 or 4 years ago, when I would talk to ministers in Africa, they would say, don't bother me with this climate change stuff. We need modern electricity for our people. Now they're saying, we need modern electricity for our people, but why are you bypassing us? Why are we going to be the ones with yesterday's technologies and not tomorrow's technologies? Is there a problem here?
Well, what do you see coming from such climate talks as the Cancun talks this year down the road?
We will continue to see good progress on the process part, how we go about doing things, how we think about solving the issues of deforestation. I don't think we're going to have breakthroughs until there's more political maturity on this issue in countries like the United States. But we're already seeing signs of countries like China and India are also ready to take their part of the problem. It's true that they are not responsible for the historic emissions, but I think that they are increasingly understanding that they have to be part of the solution going forward.
Stay up to date with the latest research, learn about Brookings events, and search our directory of experts, all from your mobile device. To download Brookings for your BlackBerry, Android, or iPhone, go to brookings.edu/mobile.